Hi everyone, my name is Adam Levy, and today we're going to be talking about the Guess My Rule game, a fun math game for a wide range of ages. To play the game, students should have background knowledge on algebra concepts such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. For the lesson I'm using, my students know how to create graphs from ordered pairs, inputs and outputs of a function, as well as some knowledge on functions. However, the game itself can be used to teach students how to graph ordered pairs and to determine functions and place them into function notation as well. Personally, I really enjoy this game as it can not only be used for wide ranges of ages, but also because it's a fun math puzzle with one answer, but it allows for students different perspectives and processes to come up with the answer. It also gives the teachers a chance to implement silent teaching. Silent teaching is a practice where teachers give students autonomy. Ideally, they talk for about 10% of the class, allowing students 90% of the portion of the class to talk themselves. And this promotes student cooperation as well, instead of competition and peer correction. In my lesson, I am less of a teacher and more of a moderator than lecturer, and students work in groups and as a class through cooperation and peer correction instead of competition. And I'll talk about this more later on. In the Guess My Rule game, the teacher or student comes up with a simple or complex function, depending on the age, and the students try and guess the rule after initially providing inputs for the teacher to provide the outputs for. An example of a rule could be as simple as 2x minus 1. So if the student guesses 1, you would tell them back that the output then is 1 for their given input of 1. Instead of students shouting answers out when they think that they know the rule, students prove the rule by providing a corresponding input or output. You could also walk around and have the student write down the rule, or same thing, have a student write down an output for any given input to show that they understand the rule. This way, again, it allows for individual learning. The nice thing about the game is that it can be tweaked based on the age of the students. You can use the use of more complex functions. You could show some inputs and outputs with some blank for the students to determine, or you can stop after inputs and outputs and spend time graphing to try and determine the rule, the function, in order to predict any output for an input, particularly if the class hadn't worked on graphing yet or if they were new to graphing. And then again, the game can be used vice versa with outputs to get the input. Again, the benefits to the game is how it can be used for many, many different age levels. So at this point, now that if the students have determined the rule of the function, we can see if the function has a limit or if it's bounded below and above to be bounded overall. Further learning can also be done by placing outputs into a sequence and having students determine if sequences are arithmetic, geometric, direct, or recursive. In my lesson, my students will now use Excel to input the function so we can come up with very large inputs or any input. At this time, advanced students or older age students can also be shown how to use Excel to determine if the sequence is arithmetic or geometric. In addition to the game, I like to provide my students with a worksheet with geometric shapes changing as part of a pattern as the terms increase, which is a sequence. In the sequence activity, Students are also using functions, and I think it's important for them to recognize how the patterns change over time visually, as well as the relationship again to functions. Some common questions that I received from my students were, are there shortcuts to finding the rule? Now, essentially, the answer is no. It's on the student's process of guess and check or identifying the algebra within the rule as the inputs and outputs are given, or vice versa. But through the use of Excel, they are able to check for accuracy to determine if they have a working function and if they can then predict it to any input or output. Students also frequently asked about the practical use. Why are functions important and why should they care about it? Well, functions are really important in math and science to compare, especially to compare between two functions. And functions are essential in the world of business where profits are determined based on the functions which take into account the costs to create such products, even in your basic lemonade stand, as well as in bigger picture things such as cost of living. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy playing the Guess My Rule game with your students. And again, it can be used for a wide variety of age students, and you can add your own little spins on it to make it more or less challenging for the students. Thanks.